What is up, YouTube? Welcome to PanFro Games, and today we were supposed to have a Pokemon Home update for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, but as you can see on the tweet on the screen here, it ain't happening and we don't know when. However, that doesn't mean you shouldn't build some Pokemon to prepare for the Pokemon Home update that can both help you in either competitive Pokemon play and raid battling in Scarlet and Violet. And of course, guys, if you like this type of content, please leave a like, subscribe if you're new. I really appreciate it, and consider joining the Pan Fam today by hitting that join member button below. If you haven't seen it, here is the list of all the Pokemon from Pokemon Home coming in Scarlet and Violet, meaning the Alolans, the Galarians, the Hisuians are coming through. As long as they have a counterpart in Scarlet and Violet, they'll be coming through. Unless you're a Hisuian, because it seems like every Hisuian Pokemon is coming over from Pokemon Legends Arceus to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which is pretty phenomenal. Now, the other thing that sticks out is we do have all the other starters coming as well for the most part. Some of them are going to be coming in the later DLC, but pretty much every starter we've gotten for our Mightiest Mark so far is coming. And we're also be getting a lot of legendary Pokemon, even their forms, and some mythical Pokemon as well. Now, something to note about the mythicals and legendaries, they may not be legal in Scarlet and Violet, even with Home. Just because they're in the game code doesn't mean they'll actually allow us to use them. This happened in Sword and Shield when they first put Home for Sword and Shield. Legendaries and mythicals weren't allowed to come over even if they were in the game code. And they were once available when the DLC occurred. So we may have to be waiting till the fall or winter time for these legendaries and mythicals to become legal. So this list looks a lot smaller when you remove all the legendaries and mythicals from this. This 119 is like cut in half dramatically. So we're going to be building a list of Pokemon that you should probably have ready for building for VGC and for raiding that are not including the legendaries or mythicals. First Pokemon is Ursa Luna, and guys, this is my favorite Pokemon for Pokemon Legends Arceus and one of the best Pokemon that's ever been created in the video game. Now, Ursa Luna, the evolved form of Ursaring, will only be attainable within PLA, so you will need to make one in PLA before bringing it over to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Now, ground and normal typing is pretty unique. There's only one other Pokemon that has that, as Diggersby. And it does have quite a few weaknesses, weak to water, grass, ice, and fighting. However, you are resistant to poison and rock, which is pretty solid. But you also are immune to electric and ghost. So you have two immunities on this Pokemon. And ground and normal is actually a really good combination in general, because we have some beefy stats. Now, we have base 130 HP, which is insane. We are an absolute tank with this. And our attack is 140, which is one of the highest attack stats in the game for sure. This thing is an absolute beast on the physical side. And the defense is 105, which 130 HP is absolutely phenomenal. Now, we have 80 Spadef, which is actually pretty solid with 130 HP, actually. So this thing is an absolute bulky thing. Terrible special attack, which is good, and it's really slow, which is actually good for like VGC, because if you put this on like a Trick Room team, it's gonna be an absolute beast. Now, it has some pretty solid abilities, but the one ability that truly does matter is the regular ability Guts. Now, if Ursa Luna gets affected by a status effect, let's say it's like a paralyzed or poison or burned, instead of reducing its attack, like if it got burned by that 50%, if it gets any status effect on it, it gets a plus 50% boost to its attack stat, which means you want to put a Flame Orb on this thing with Guts, and all your attacks are going to do way more damage, and you're already doing 140. So the big thing about this thing is you have a phenomenal physical attacking moveset in general. You learn some crazy moves. So you get one, Play Rough. Play Rough is phenomenal, fairy type move right here. You also get High Horsepower, which is pretty good too. But the big thing is you get Headlong Rush. Headlong Rush is the ground type close combat. And yeah, you're going to have Headlong Rush on every Ursa Luna. And you're also going to have some like close combat as well. And the combination of these two moves are going to be absolutely phenomenal. You also get Belly Drum, which makes this Pokemon a phenomenal raid Pokemon in general, because you can be Flame Orb with Guts and then Belly Drum turn 1, and then whatever happens on turn 2, they're dead. Straight up. So this is going to be insane with Belly Drum. And now looking at the TMs it learns, the most important move that it's going to learn is Facade. Now Facade, if you didn't know, is a 70 damage base normal type move, but if you are status, this becomes a 140 base move. And because we're going to be status from the Flame Orb with Guts, we have a stab normal 140 move coming with an additional Guts boost on top of that, and hell, maybe you got the belly drum off top of that. So yeah, Ursa Luna is looking to be the best raid Pokemon, and this thing's gonna be an absolute beast. Just in general, phenomenal moveset overall. Like, look at all these different moves that we can learn. Of course, like, it has Shadow Claw, which is really good. All the elemental punches, has Seed Bomb, has Drain Punch for sustain, Gunk Shot, Crunch. Like, there's just so much going on with this Pokemon. Earthquake as well, of course. Stone Edge. It's a perfect Pokemon. This is the perfect physical attacker, just straight up one of the best Pokemon that's ever been created. Next is Shusui Guzra, which is a straight up better Guzra because it gets the Steel typing, which is the main major difference here. And Steel Dragon is one of the best typings in the entire game. You only have 2 weaknesses to fighting and ground. You have a lot of good resistances in general as well. And Shusui Guzra has 3 phenomenal abilities. You can lower speed with Gooey, Shell Armor protects you from crits, and Sap Sipper allows you to be immune to grass and also raise your attack stat if you are hit by a grass type move. Overall, I do think Shell Armor and Gooey are going to be the 2 better ones in general here. Now, looking at her stats, 150 special defense is absolutely bonkers. This is going to be the premier Pokemon to use as a special defender in raid battles, in my opinion, because not only can it take all those hits, and 80 HP is pretty solid with 150 special defense, but it also has 100 attack and 100 special attack, meaning we can actually dish out a really high amount of damage in general. Of course, you want to go a little bit more towards the special side because you do have more stats over there. And 100 defense is still phenomenal, especially with that 80 HP. It ends up actually being pretty solid too. And 60 speed doesn't really matter. You're going to be slow. It doesn't really matter because we're playing this more as a support Pokemon for raiding. But also for VGC, it doesn't really matter either because you're going to sit there, be thick as all hell, and be able to take those hits. Now, looking at the moves for Shusui Guzra, we got a lot of solid stuff. I mean, Acid Spray is going to be the standout move for raiding. Absolutely phenomenal. Lower that special defense by 2. And, you know, we're going to have a decent special attack stat to actually capitalize on those Spadef drops. So that's going to be phenomenal. But this thing just has the general set of moves that you would want on a Dragon and Steel type. I mean, you have Dragon Pulse. You're going to have, like, Flash Cannon, which is always going to be solid as well. You have a decent physical move pool as well, looking at, like, all the different elemental punches, Dragon Claw, Rock Slide. Body press is going to be pretty solid on this thing. Iron Head, Heavy Slam, because this thing is huge. It's going to be really solid. But yeah, on the special side, Flash Cannon, Dragon Pulse, Surf, Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, like Fire Blast, Hydro Pump, Sludge Bomb, Draco Meteor, Steel Beam. Like, we have so many options. And if you're going to play this thing as a support, you have like Charm, which is going to be really useful. You can put up any of the weathers as well, which is going to be pretty solid too. You know, that's going to be really useful. You have Curse if you want to increase your attack and defense as well to get more bulk. That's going to be our only setup move on the Gudra, unfortunately. If this thing had like Calm Mind or Nasty Plot, it would be freaking over. But Gudra looks to be one of the best Pokemon to definitely build as a support. It's probably going to end up being like the best Acid Spray user in the game. Next up is Shusui Samurai, and this Pokemon is going to be crazy good. I would actually recommend building this Pokemon with the item Scope Lens and then using the hidden ability Sharpness to maximize the damage. Now, this Pokemon has really decent attack with 108, decent defenses overall, but the Sharpness ability increasing your slashy moves by 50% is gonna be crazy. Now, some of the moves it learns is pretty phenomenal. Aqua Cutter, crazy. This is going to do 105 damage with Sharpness, and it has a high crit rate, so it's already me starting you at that 12% boost. And if you have Scope Lens, you have a 50% chance of critting with Aqua Cutter. Same thing with Night Slash. High crit chance, 70 damage, 105, 50% chance to crit with Scope Lens. So that's going to be crazy with Aqua Cutter and Night Slash. Sacred Sword also does count. You get that 50% boost as well. So we're going to add a 45 to this, making this, I believe, 135 damage on Sacred Sword. Absolutely crazy. Signature move, Ceaseless Edge. You know, a little bit less damage than Night Slash, but it does set up like hazards on the Pokemon that you're facing. So essentially that Pokemon's going to take damage every turn. Sort of like a Whirlpool situation, but they're not actually trapped. But the physical moveset in general is pretty insane. You got so many different options, and X-Scissor gets that boost as well. So you got a lot of good options on this Pokemon, but pretty much for the most part, you're going to be hitting Aqua Cutter and Night Slash for that high crit chance and for that additional boost, Sacred Sword for coverage, and then you can do like another coverage move like X-Scissor, or you can run Ceaseless Edge, or you can do Swords Dance. You know, set up a Swords Dance on turn 1 in a raid or something like that. And after that, you're being +2 with these Aqua Cutters and Night Slashes, and you're doing a crazy amount of damage. And the last Pokemon I'll bring up is going to be Sneezler, because this thing has a phenomenal attack and speed stat. And honestly, it's probably going to be the best poison type physical attacker in the metagame, which is really good to destroy all the fairies that are roaming. Defensively, it actually has some pretty solid defenses overall, but it's terrible stat-wise on the defensive side. So you're really not going to take any hits, and you are 4 times weak to Psychic, so keep that in mind. Now, we do learn some phenomenal moves, and we have a signature move called Dire Claw. Dire Claw has a high crit chance, is a poison type 80 move, and it has a chance of poisoning the Pokemon, putting them to sleep, or paralyzing them. So Dire Claw is a cracked move, and you're going to be using this move a lot on this Pokemon. But you also get some things like Close Combat, which is pretty crazy in general. You're going to be getting things like, you could run Acrobatics if you're going to do like no item on it. You know, you can do things like a Shadow Claw. You can do Fire Punch. You could run X-Scissor. You also get Acid Spray if you want to run like a weird support version of this thing. But of course you don't have to. But the big thing is you do get Swords Dance, right? So if you can set up turn 1, use Swords Dance, and then start hitting either Dire Claw or Close Combat, is a GG well played. But honestly, because it is high attack stat, I can see this Pokemon just running the metagame for raiding in poison type situations, or even fighting type situations as well, because it is such high attack stat and speed stat in general. Give it a choice band, give it some screech support. This thing is gonna be an absolute monster. Of course, for single play, this thing is going to be incredible already, as we know from Pokemon Showdown. This thing is just super fast, has great stabs. Essentially, it's sort of like a better Weavile in a lot of different ways. Of course, it doesn't have priority ice moves, but overall, a phenomenal Pokemon. Definitely recommend building this. And I already said one last Pokemon, but I do want to mention if Enamorus is allowed to be used within Pokemon Home, transfer to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, do not sleep on this Pokemon. 135 special attack with Moonblast from a fairy type is going to be freaking phenomenal. So whenever we are allowed to use Enamorus, definitely would recommend using this for a lot of raids. And of course, it's going to be good in singles as well. Anyways, guys, I hope this video was helpful to you on which Pokemon you should build for the upcoming Pokemon Home update. That's going to best help you for either VGC or for some raiding action. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe if you're new. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out, and have a great one.